have PBED Executive Director Hanibal Camua. Good morning, Hanibal. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sir Angelo and Ma'am Angela, and thank you for having me again in your program.
All right. Well, we saw that report, no, yung sa what happened, the shooting. It's very unfortunate kasi if you take a look at it, madaming instances na pwede sanang mapigilan yung nangyari. But ano ba ang challenge natin with regards to, curbing this or preventing this kind of incidents?
Mm-hmm. Sir Angelo, unang-una gusto kong acknowledge yan na because most of our children spend most of their time in school at a very young age, kailangan ng eskwelahan ay ligtas. It should be a safe haven and a refuge for our learners. And they should feel that they are well protected and safe within the grounds of the school. So what happened? The shooting incident, and this is not the first time.
Yes.
I think a few months back there was also another incident in a school in Parañaque.
I think stabbing naman yun, no?
So yes, a stabbing incident was reported. So I think there must be something that should be done by the Department of Education, particularly looking at improved security in schools, and particularly in public schools. It might be challenging, I know, because particularly on the sheer number of public schools that we have in the Philippines. But I think first step there is to check on what are the security measures that are being implemented in all public schools all over the country, particularly to prevent these kinds of incidents to happen again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kasi yun nga lang pag-hire ng mga security guards sa mga public school, I'm sure hirap din yan sa pagkuha ng budget, di ba? But, sir, kasi dito sinabi ni DepEd Secretary Angara, he urged educators, parents, and communities to collaborate in ensuring that schools remain peaceful and nurturing spaces for all learners. Paano ba yun, di ba? How are we seeing this, coming into fruition na makapag-collaborate yung mga teachers, yung mga parents in making sure na safe yung school premises?
Well, in my previous interviews here, Ma'am Angela, I did emphasize on the very idea of decentralization of education, wherein we give more authority or we give more responsibility on managing our schools on the local government. And for this instance, and from what you've explained here, kung kinakailangan ng mas more participation and more stake from the local governments, just particular to this issue, we should not, or in this case, hindi dapat hintayin na DepEd ang maglagay at magpasweldo ng mga security for the schools. This can come from the local government unit or from the community.
Right.
I've seen schools, particularly yung mga schools, rural schools, na yung mga nag-act as security personnel ay mga barangay tanod. No, I'm not sure if these are institutionalized in majority of the schools, but I've seen schools wherein yung mga barangay peacekeepers po yung talaga na nagmamando ng kanilang gates. I'm not sure po if there are certain let's say procedures na may frisking ba yan or inspection of bags.
Actually, wala
that I'm
frisking.
sure, but I think magandang tingnan, no, na may mga eskwelahan na ganun yung practices. So let's say for example, if this would be also under the responsibility or at least ang contribution ng local government unit is pwede siyang magposisyon ng mga security personnel or mga police. Pero kailangan meron din pong meron din pong let's say procedures and standards na ini-implement dyan, because we are actually dealing with young people, with children.
That's true.
And let's say hindi dapat sila ma-expose to let's say for example mga daladalang baril ng mga security personnel or ng mga police na itatalaga. So may ganong sensitivities po na kailangang i-manage by the school and also by their communities.
Actually, Hanibal, tama ka doon. Yung sa Santa Rosa kasi wala silang official security partner doon. What happened is wala doon certified police security guards. So therefore, yung mga sa entrance daw, hindi pwede magkap-kap kasi may regulation about that. But the question here kasi is, once we're still not decentralized, no? Kasi at least sa private schools, you will see that they have allocated budgets with prime importance on security. Alam natin yun. We've seen how these budgets pag report sa parents, teachers, conferences, no? But sa public school, if you take a look at yung budgeting nila, ang naka-priority of course sweldo, classroom development, infrastructure, painting, cleanliness. Makikita mo wala doon ang budget for security. And I've heard some superintendents from regional schools say na ang pasa ng responsibility daw, minsan tama ka, yung sinabi mo kanina, sa barangay. So, how do we go about this kung wala nga sa order of budget ang security, and the school will have to make do with what the barangay will give them?
Sir, I think in terms of budget, no, as what I've said, it's really on the number of schools then, no, na kailangan. If again, this would be a centralized decision coming from the central office, it would take time for it to let's say be implemented. We have to look at also again other numbers in terms of backlogs in hiring of
That's
teachers
right.
has been for quite some time already. And then dito papasok din yung backlogs on hiring of guidance counselor per teacher in the schools, no? Because of this issue. But just looking at, let's say, yung punto natin kanina about yung mga security guards or having security personnel in their premises, as what I've said, may mga practices kasi in other communities that are actually have worked, no? So why not look at this? Tingnan natin yung itong mga practices na to na partnership with the barangay or partnership with the local government units, so that hindi na rin siya problema or hindi na siya kailangang iakyat sa central office. For me, the very simple and immediate solution to this is if the principal or the school head can actually talk or partner with the barangay captain or with their mayors and ask for this kind of support, at least for the immediate. If again, kailangan talaga na maglagay tayo ng mga security personnel doon sa ating mga pinto at mga gates sa ating eskwelahan.
Tama ka doon, Hanibal. Should we then, given na wala pa tayong ruling on decentralizing schools, should we then grant autonomy to all the school heads in the different regions? Kasi kung centralized ang decision making and the central office is in Metro Manila, ang basis usually ng decisions are kung ano yung plight ng schools within the metro. Iba ang issue pag nasa Mindanao. Iba yung pag nasa Cebu ka, yung far-flung areas. Iba yung mga nasa northern provinces. So iba-iba ang pangingailangan nila. So we cannot base the central decision here sa Metro Manila at itutulad natin sa Mindanao.
Exactly, sir. And that's the reason why we have been pushing for decentralization. And in this case, because the context are very different in different areas. And in yung mga context na to, it's only the local leaders, the school heads, the principals, the local government units ang nakakaalam at kabisado yung konteksto na to. And they know how to respond effectively if they are very well aware of the context. In terms of decentralization, Sir Angelo and Ma'am Angela, this has been in the plans of DepEd. They have recently launched their quality basic education plan, and that plan will be implemented in the next 10 years. But you are correct. If these issues, itong mga issues na to, kailangan agad-agad ang solusyon, I think we should not, schools should not wait for, let's say, hintayin yung directive na yun from the central office.
Right.
But again, if ako, I am a very proactive and very, let's say, innovative na school head, I could always ask for a partnership with my barangay, with my local government unit, so that they can help me manage my school, which is actually servicing as well yung constituents din at the local level. So it's really a partnership-driven governance of the school.
Sir, kanina you mentioned about guidance counselors. Alam naman natin yung big problem din with that issue, kakulangan ng mga guidance counselors sa iba't ibang school. But I was wondering also, paano naman natin ma-handle yung mga emotional and psychological impact sa mga estudyante, sa mga people involved after the incidents of violence, knowing na may shortage tayo ng mga guidance counselors?
Yes, Ma'am Angela, that's a very good point, especially for those who have experience or have seen firsthand. Yan po, meron talagang very specific steps and procedures to process kung ano yung nakita at ano yung na-experience ng mga learners that have already experienced those kinds of incidents. Tawag po dyan, merong mental health and psychosocial support services. No, again, diyan papasok yung kakulangan, no. Meron talagang napakalaking kakulangan for those professionals who can actually do let's say psychological debriefing for those who have been affected or naka-experience ng ganyang klaseng incidents, no. For those na my advice, and I think for sa mga naging involved or for those who have experienced or seen those kinds of incidents, kailangan nilang mag-approach sa mga kanilang mga guro. At yung mga guro is they have to refer it to a proper channel. Perhaps, let's say for example, si DOH nag-offer ng ganyan eh. Meron silang free psychosocial support services. So that could also be an interagency collaboration between DOH and DepEd. But on the very point of having guidance counselors per school, as what I've said, there's a big backlog on that. Almost 4,000 to 5,000 plantilla positions.
Yes, that's right.
To do that. Yes, in public schools. Pero by the rate that we are going, it would take us years and years to fill it up because merong requirement that for someone to be a guidance counselor in a school, I think dapat kailangan ng master's degree. So doon matagal yung pipeline. So I think while we are actually producing the pipeline for guidance counselors, there should be some short-term solutions that needs to be thought about, no. So let's say for example, katulad din ba yan, pwede ba na kung may mga reading let's say volunteers tayo, pwede din ba na pag-isipan na magkaroon ng mga volunteers for psychosocial and mental health support services in schools. All those things, I think, because when we are looking at solutions at the long term, meron din dapat interventions na especially for those who really need it most.
Right. Well, earlier today, we had the news report also na talaga nakikita natin na kailangan yung sinasabi niyo, sir, yung psychosocial debriefing sa mga estudyante dahil meron dito sa Lanao del Sur, meron siyang pinatay na teacher niya dahil binigyan siya ng failing grade. Hindi siya makakapasa ng grade 12 if I'm not mistaken. Can you imagine, mag-grade 12 pa lang ito, binaril niya yung teacher niya dahil nga dun sa failed grade na binigay sa kanya.
Yes, Ma'am Angela, and that's very unfortunate, no. For me, it's ako personal ko na for a teacher to experience, no,
right,
like that, no, na ganun ang naging kahantungan ng isang teacher. That's very unfortunate, and for me, malaking bagay yan eh kung titingnan natin.
Medyo malalim yung hugot ng bata, for sure. Definitely there's something inside of that kid, 'di ba? That's going on with him to react this way, 'di ba? Kasi for sure may problema yan sa, we're not justifying it, but for sure may underlying problem yan na condition, that's why he reacted that way.
Yes, and again, if you're going to look at it again, hindi naman na kailangan it happened. So I think what needs to be done now is how do you prevent it from happening again? So ano ba yan? What policies needs to be in place at the school level, heightened security, so and so. But on the short term, ano yung mga kailangang interventions sa school at sa learner level para mapigilan yung mga ganyang klaseng incidents from happening again.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat muli sa inyong insights. As always, PBED Executive Director Hanibal Camua. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Diba?